Thank you to our 4 sponsors for supporting our podcast: Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milktown Pies, Alexander Grace Law, Jez and Lisa's Spoonful of Sweets, and SPE Furnishings. Links to their websites are available in the show notes and on our website. Don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest episodes as soon as they're released.
Right, good evening everybody and welcome to a different type of podcast for the Housecast. This time we're looking at discussing what's going on in the season, what's going on behind the scenes and in front of the scenes down at the world famous, fantastic Lowerhouse Cricket Club. We've no guests on this evening other than the important people. They were all the lads who've helped out host this, produce it, edit it, whatever else you want to do. We're just going to have a chat about the season. We're going to talk about how things are going. We're a bit concerned it might be a little bit too serious or not funny for people, but let's give it a try. It shouldn't go on forever. We just want to see how it's going to go. So first of all, there's 4 of us that are going to chat things through. Just had a conversation with this young man earlier today. He's going to be the representative from the players from the cricket club. It's our one and only Joe Martin. How's it going, Joe?
Very well, thank you, Jez. Yeah, we're emerging out of the lockdown well, I think.
Yeah, it was good to see you today, and it was good to see a bit of a game going down at the club. You seemed a little bit involved. What was who was playing and how did it?
It was a Lowerhouse under 14s team against a Liverpool representative team. So one of my friends who has his own coaching school in Liverpool brought a team over of 14-year-olds to come and have a game against our boys.
What number did you bat?
Do you know what? It does nothing for my self-esteem when they're all taller than me. It's absolutely terrible.
I never thought of that because I was a distance away. But looking, I suppose you were a similar sort of size, Joe. No, that's fantastic to see, and it was good to see there. Them Stans was whinging as normal, complaining. He's had, I think he said, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, he's had games on the square. Tuesday wasn't fit for him to repair anything. Wednesday he did a bit, and then today he's not been able to get on. But it wouldn't be Stan if he wasn't mourning. So let me just introduce the other 2 guests who we've got on to discuss various topics this evening. From 200 or 300 miles away, who will be keeping on top of all our scores and results and wishing as well. We've got the ex-skipper Gary Moorhouse. How's it going, Gary?
Evening, Jez. Good to catch up with you all again. Yeah, you're right. I've been keeping up with things, and it's good to see some good performances creeping into the start of the season already. Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's good. Be good to get your input, Gary. You know, we're quite close to it. Obviously, Joe's right in the thick of it, and our 4th host is just on the periphery, but I think he gets most of the shit. So it will be good to have a catch up between the 4 of us. So the 4th host who's helping me out with this podcast is the one and only Joe Beneduce. How's it going, Dooch?
Good, thank you, Jez. Very good to be back on here.
Yeah, that's good. Are you stressed? Are you okay?
I'm all right. You know, some weeks are more stressful than others. Last week was a real challenge because it was a treble header.
Yeah.
So it was a T20 game on Friday night. Where's the Cup game Saturday, League game Sunday, and you will know that some of our senior players cannot play 3 games a weekend. So we had a few discussions as to how we were gonna manage that. But yeah, it was all good fun.
Yeah, I just for crikey, it's a long time since I was in that mix of trying to get players and people crying off, and I help out when I can. We've had conversations previously. Just for the listeners, just give us an insight of, first of all, how the teams are picked. And I'm not saying don't go into the intricacies of who picks them and who doesn't, but maybe how it works, how the messages go, WhatsApps, etc., etc.
Right. Well, we've obviously got team captains, and they're integral in how the teams get picked. For the first and the second 11, I just kind of help the captains and try and be a voice of reason for the captains and help them select their teams. Stan does the thirds and the fourths. Me and the captains for the first and the seconds do the first and the second. So that's Ben and Matt. Matt obviously is fantastic to have involved because he's captain in the seconds, but obviously he's got a wealth of first team experience. So Matt pitches in with first team discussions as well. So we do have a good three-way conversation usually if there are any issues to be discussed. I have to say that more often than not for this year and the previous 2 years, the first team's almost picked itself. We don't have 15 first team players really. We have probably 12 this year. So there aren't masses and masses of decisions. There are obviously a group of players under that 12. The first team more often than not is most self-selected.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that about the 12 because, you know, the other podcasts we've spoken about in 14, 15 and then going through with Corbus's years with probably 18, sometimes up to 18 players. Does that cause difficulties? I guess it hasn't already this year, but will it cause difficulties if we have a few injuries? And, you know, what would it be like bringing in, you know, some quality players in the seconds, Joe? Yeah. How will it go if, you know, on the negative side, if things don't go right, lack of form and injuries?
Well, I mean, we've probably all earned our chance through lack of form and injuries, and the group above, we probably all us four got our chance in the first team because of that. And you know, I wouldn't ever want us to not have opportunities for younger players coming through because that's how you make your way in the side. Yes. I guess the difference now is with this league that we're playing, there are no easy games. You want to have your strongest 11 or 11 of your strongest 12 out on the pitch as often as you possibly can, because if you don't, you will probably lose ground. You know, there are no real freebies in this division that we're in now. So I mean, that puts a slightly different spin on it. Yeah,
I'm going to bring Gary into this and just I haven't appreciated it, Gary, properly. You know, I've watched a few games this year and looked at the amateur sides. But I'm chatting to Matt, my brother, and also Charlie Cottam a little bit, and they're saying this is massively tough league. Have you looked at any of the players in there, Gary, or done any research, or is that a bit of a surprise to you?
What you mean, the quality generally, how it's all sort of maybe, I mean, it's done what they set out to do, isn't it, really? And that's to get the strongest sides playing each other at the top and make the second division competitive amongst clubs who are currently at a similar level. And that's taken probably a few years for that to settle down and those relegations and promotions so it doesn't surprise me. No, I mean, obviously a lot of the teams' names aren't that familiar because they're a whole new generation. Even when we played them in the Intertoto and stuff like that, there's a lot of the names that aren't familiar. But so, I mean, it's good. I think that's great because, you know, if you can say you're winning a championship or a T20 or a Worsley Cup when it's that level, okay, Worsley Cup across the divisions, but a championship when it's that level of caliber and competition, then there's an extra bit of kudos there, isn't there, amongst them, who genuinely are the best of them.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'll bring Joe Martin in a minute, and he's when Charlie, you know, we're talking to you about it. I've not spoken to Blaise yet about it. And I looked around and I looked at the amateurs. You know, we used to say in our day that there'd be two quality amateurs. Then you'd have two or three that were, you know, really good players. But you'd always have the odd one or the odd two. Once you got into it, you could sometimes expect to roll sides over. Apparently now, you know, they're all competitive and they're all good players. Joe Martin, what's your, from what me and Gary, the old duffers, have spoke about, what's your view on the way the league is at the moment?
It's by far and away the strongest league I've played in. I've been in the first team now 10 years.
That's interesting.
And I think that really, where's Jen gone? He disappeared.
Carry on. I took a laugh.
There we are. Sorry. He just disappeared. So I think when I first came into the first team and as we were winning championships, stuff like that, we were obviously a very strong team, and there were probably 5-6 strong teams in the league. The other ones were pretty good, but you would expect to beat them. I think now, and the league actually shows that, and it's a bit of a cliche, I guess, but anyone can beat anybody. You know, we We beat Darwin one week, and then they beat one of the top teams the week after. So I think that it's a real challenge. You have to be at the top of your game every week, and if you're not, you'll get beat and you'll fall by the wayside, I guess. But it's really good to play in, actually. I think one of the interesting things is, Jez, that probably 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, when you had top professional cricketers, international cricketers playing, and they were obviously, and you know, teams can't afford that now. But I think that probably there's an equilibrium, I guess, where a very high standard of amateur cricketers will probably push that level up where the standard of professional, it isn't Roger Harper or someone like that. But the professionals are still great players as well, can I add? Still fantastic cricketers.
Just to put Dooch back on the spot, as you had a go at him, Jez, I'll put a bit more weight that way. I had a visitor down to this neck of the woods last weekend, another ex-Lancashire League captain, Lowerhouse captain, and when there was a similar chat on continuity and new players and obviously those golden years of Stan's class of 2000 and where's that next band of young blood coming through. So if you're saying there's 11, 12 solid names who are always up for consideration, is the twos on that wave that in 2 or 3 years time they've got 4 or 5 people into that mix?
Well, at me, Gary, yeah.
Well, yeah, why not?
The answer is yes. There are a number of players in that second team who are county representative or sort of district represented or league representative players. So yeah, there are some really, really good players in that second 11 who are making the way in the game.
Cool. Because the point Jez were making about, if somebody gets injured or whatever, or even if they don't, if there isn't that competition coming through, do you still get that level of performance? And that's back to our era as well, where we weren't as certainly not as good as players in the current side. But sometimes if there wasn't that competition, it almost didn't matter if you had 2 or 3 shit scores on the bounce. It was who are you gonna get dropped for? But it's good to hear that they're coming through, Joe. Definitely.
I think one of the things as well, Dooch, is that we had a couple of youngsters playing in the T20 last weekend, and it's a great competition to blood those youngsters, I think. But they also got a chance to do something. So Tom and Henry both bowled 4 overs each, and Henry took 4 wickets, and Tom bowled really tidily against Rishton, and we sort of know about those players. And in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, maybe even sooner, I guess, when they come into the first team, they'll be ready to go. But I think whilst it was his first game or his second game, Sharpie played in the seconds this weekend, Dooch, and got 60 odd, didn't he? And batted fantastic. So there's also players that, whilst they might not be quite where 2 or 3 of them are at, the players that are coming through maybe a little bit unexpectedly as well, which is quite exciting as well, Gaz.
Good, great to hear.
Yeah, and I don't. It's certainly not going to do these young players any harm. Going into the first team. None of them are worried or scared or will panic or it'll knock them for 6. And like you said there, it's a bonus when Henry Cotton getting 4 wickets in that game, and seeing the photos on social media of him and Charlie, his dad, hugging after getting a wicket. Who on earth could not even enjoy seeing things like that and watching it develop? But it is interesting, and let's see that. I wanted to bring that point up about the standard of the league because it is clearly something I think I've missed over the last, whether it's because of COVID or to understand that these clubs that are coming in who are not traditional Lancashire League clubs are good clubs. Let's not pretend that we're the best since sliced bread and everyone says the Lancashire League's the best. It's not, in as much as you can't accept clubs coming in. You look who's left in the cup. You look at the league table. It is a tough league. And my final point would be, when we talk about how the leagues go, I listened to Joe Beneduce and the winning the league and having that great run. Listened to Paddy Martin and Joe Martin. And then when we had Ben on, it seemed to be if you didn't win your first 3 or 4 games and get off to a flyer, because we're amateurs and we don't practice maybe like we should do once we've got beat a couple of games, the season's gone before the middle of May. I get the impression now it's different because everyone can pick points up if you're playing at the top of your game, and obviously reverse is you will drop points if you're not at the top of your game. So that really encourages me for the season. It really does, as keep people fit and keep going on. Anything else from anyone before we just have a look at the games we've played and how we've gone on?
I was just going to say, actually, we've got a few ex-captains on here, and I remember when I was captain, the fixtures come out. You'd look at your fixtures and sort of plot your way through them fixtures and think, all right, we might have 3 or 4 easy games to open up. Then we've got a couple of toughies. Yeah. You can't do that anymore, just because of what you just said there about the competitive nature of the league. You're into it from ball one, really.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, Joe, we used to all do it. You could relax for a week or two because you think we're going to get points there, and vice versa. You think, right, we'll give those points away. We know that we're going to probably get hammered there because of their pro. And a great point you brought up, Joe Martin, around the pros aren't what maybe they used to be in as much as pedigree. But this will bring out the best part of that professional. If they're playing in a good amateur side, it will bring the best out of them as well. So really interesting points there.
Just on that one, Jess, sorry to labour, but just adding on to that, it sounds like then if everybody thinks it's going to be that close and that up and down maybe, and one game you can swing 3 or 4 positions quite easily. Is then bonus points are going to come into the mix, and so tactically during any game, if it's look like you're not going to win, and rather than just swinging from your arse and giving it a go just to get the 10 points, is actually we can come out of this season with a comfortable 6 or 7. That'll do it. Thanks very much. And at the end of the day, come the knock-ins, those odd points might just make a difference.
Without a doubt, Gary, I think that's going to happen more and more. The days of, I think the points will all be concertina and more, and you're looking at Ramsbottom 9th now. They're a great side, probably the best pro in the league, and the 9th, and they'll be in the top unless something drastic happens. They'll be in the top 4 without a doubt. Do you agree with that, Joe Martin, about the bonus point? How does that go down?
Absolutely. I think it does 2 things. I think it means that captains now have to play really aggressive cricket. So when a team's probably not going to win and they are trying to defend themselves, and the thing is that they've got to get close to the target because those bonus points can keep them up.
Yeah,
that's one of the things. If they get 3 bonus points out of the game, which is equivalent of a no result, those 3 points are really important. Whereas previously you could just probably bowl teams out, whatever. I think I haven't looked at the statistics of this, but I think what I've sort of anecdotally seen is that whilst it does still happen, some teams don't get properly beaten. You'd rock up to some games and you'd expect to score 250, 280, and you'd expect to win by 150 runs. That genuinely doesn't happen anymore. If you score 250, sometimes teams will push and get to 200, 210, 220 and really run it close because of the quality of the players.
Yeah, and I guess that this weekend we'll come on to that, Joe. When we chatted earlier today, Johnny White hits 100 this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point you made.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, crikey, a flat track. Johnny's done his job. He's got his ton that he's been waiting for forever. But then you realise that it was a grafted ton, and it was, probably worth more. I think it's a good point now where we could start to just look at each game. Really in brief and just fly through it. The first game against Norden at home, I watched all that game. I was sat with the legend Richie Beno, who is Paul Stansfield, who taught me through it all and where we went wrong and how we slipped up. Joe Martin, tell us about how that game went. Just run us through it in a 2 minute.
So I would say Norden probably got 200 and just over 200, 220.
222.
222.
I've got the card. I didn't remember.
All right. Okay. Which was a pretty good score on that wicket, I would say.
Yeah.
We didn't field well, and that was a running theme for the first couple of games, I would say.
Yeah, a few catches, weren't there, Joe? What happened there?
I think it was. I don't know. I don't know. It was one of those things. They weren't difficult catches. I don't think they were catches that people would expect to take, but they happen. People drop catches. They don't mean to or anything, but these things happen. So we probably let them get away. And there were lots of arguments, saying that the lad who got 50 odd or 60 odd, if we'd have caught him when he was on 4, it would have meant the pro could have batted for longer. But it also means that our pro would have bowled at their pro for longer, and they can always take a wicket.
Yeah, those analogies, Joe. Sorry for interrupting you there.
Yeah.
And I do get on my high horse about this. It's bullshit that you
can't. Yeah, absolutely. You can't sort of.
I was sat with Dooch and other people, and I'm looking at the track. It's flat as anything. It's looking great. We just didn't seem on it a little bit, and I was scared to death as Zaidi getting in. And as long as I've got it in front. I don't know these people, but Tolly looked in good nick. Fitton's a good player. That Pimp came in, and I'm, if Zaidi gets in here with 30 overs to go, it's a nice day. It's quite a quick outfield. They'll end up with 300. So, let's not. You just said then people don't mean to drop catches, do they? And I don't mean to criticise the side. It just seemed a little bit on edge, maybe a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, 220 was chaseable. Yeah, very much so. And we were actually in 2 or 3 positions to win that game. And unfortunately, we lost wickets in clusters. And we probably didn't quite. People probably got to 30 and got out. Yeah. And again, at the start of the season, these things can happen. We were very disappointed in how we played, but it might seem stupid considering we dropped 4 catches and we didn't win, but we weren't far away. There were just little things that we could have done to, get us over the line. And then actually, I don't know if you want to carry on talking about the Norden game, but when we played Middleton the week after and we scored 250, Ben batted extremely well. 250 is a great score. We were probably a little short, 25 short of where we should have been, considering where we were with 20 overs left, 30 overs left, I guess. But 250, you back yourself to defend it, and their pro got 100, batted well. Yeah. I mean, and again, you played against some quality pros, and they will score hundreds, and they will take 5 wickets, and they will bowl you out. So one of the things that those first 2 games did for us, I would say, was when we'd signed Stephen Parry as pro, and he's been fantastic, absolutely brilliant, unbelievable, great bloke, and very, very fantastic cricketer. Yeah. I think when we signed him, we thought we're going to run away with this. To be honest with you, because we thought he's just great. We've got a great squad, but I think that kind of just brought a little bit of realism to us that it's not going to be a walk in the park. You actually need to turn up and battle and properly graft to win your games. Yeah. And against Middleton, again, we were in positions to win that game again.
Joe, after those first 2 games, did the pro sort of express any view on his perception prior to that, and then having played a couple of games, whether he thought it was, any different to what he expected or surprised about what he faced? Because obviously, like you say, those first 2 games, the pros have scored 180 runs and took 9 wickets and, been pretty much central to 2 losses.
Yeah, of course. I think that, the wickets were a little bit unexpected for him because they were slow. They're a lot slower than what he was used to. But he understands the club and he understands club cricket in ways that maybe first-class cricketers who come in and play don't in other kind of situations. He completely understands it. And he was saying, we don't need to overthink it. We don't need to come up with brand new theories about how we should be winning games. We need people to bat for long periods of time. And we need to bowl with plans and bowl tightly. If we do that, we'll win more games than we lose. And that's...
Joe, that is so interesting. And so that's what Steve Parry said to you all.
Yeah, and when I've sort of chatted with him, it's... Yeah. I think as amateur cricketers, sometimes we massively overthink the game. And we try and put ourselves in kind of test match cricketer's shoes. And there's certainly a reason I'm not a test match cricketer, I'll tell you that. But I think that, I think that's
The reason I mentioned that is, Dooch, please come in if you think I'm out of order. But I like just throwing this out there and see what Sometimes we might underestimate our supporters and fans who've never played cricket, but it is something that I've listened to, and I'm not sure which bit side of the fence I sit on, but for a number of years we seem to get a little bit too bogged down in work. We need to do this and we need to practice this. We need to be at this stage after so many overs. And whether I know you're saying you're not a test match player, Joe Martin, but other players are the same level. If a team of 11 individuals play another 11 individuals, 90% of the time they should come out on top. Is that something that you've noticed, Dooch, over the last few years, or something that's been made aware to you, or is it just me that's heard it?
What? Just say that. What? I was listening, but I don't really know. 11 individuals against 11 individuals, what? We'll have to edit this so I don't sound like fucking at school.
Over the last 3 or 4 years, the team seemed to be a little bit bogged down in tactics and not just cricket.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that or not.
No.
I'm not really seeing evidence of a Lowerhouse team get bogged down by tactics. I think you've got to have an idea of how you want to play, and you've got to have an idea before you go on the field as to what order things are going to happen in, and you've got to have a plan. But you've got to be able to flex from that plan. I don't know if that's the point that you're getting at. Really, you can't be too rigid and stick to it if it's not happening.
Yeah, that is my point. That I do think on occasions, and it's difficult really, because when you think, crikey, because of COVID, there's not been much cricket. So I've got to be talking 3 or 4 years where we've got this. We need to be at this stage batting after 10 overs or 20 overs, and as bowlers, we need to do this with the ball. And clearly, you're right, Joe. We've got, the club has to have plans and strategies that they work on during the week, and it's fantastic because it makes us more professional. But as soon as Tubby Tommy from Tomberton comes out and smashes your best bowler at 3 all over the park in 3 overs, you've got to adapt to it and think, hang on a minute, we might need to bring so-and-so on earlier. It just, and I'm cracky, I'll carry it on my shoulders. I've thought that's happened a little bit previously, and it's interesting to see that, our pro at the moment has said, look, don't overthink things. Good players go out and play cricket.
That's the thing, especially when we lost the first 2 games in 2014 and we went on to win the league.
Yeah.
I think we lost the first 3 of 6, actually. But I think at the same time, Jez, I do take your point. I think that sometimes you can get bogged down with tactics.
Yeah.
But I think they're just trying to gain some kind of perspective of where we are in the game. So, through the game, where do we actually need to be? Because we could end up short here, or we're not bowling quite well, for something like, I don't know. That's not really a tactic, is it? But you've got to
be happy medium out there. Yeah, it's got to be
absolutely.
happy medium, because you can't go into a game not having plans that you've been thinking about for the opposition and what you're going to do as skipper. You've got to have some kind of plan of how you're going to approach a game. But if your point is, can we veer away from that and be a little bit more spontaneous, you've got to be able to do that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, they do, and I really, really mean this. And people are probably thinking that silly old fart is just slagging off all the players who. Yeah.
I'm sure that's how it's going to come across, Jez.
I really don't mean it. The point I'm saying is, it can be in a positive way as well. They've scored 180. We are 60 off the first 10 overs with Ben and Johnny teeing off for fun. It doesn't mean you have to rein in because we're supposed to be such and such a stage. You just carry on. Just keep batting. That's my point. And I think, I've only jumped on this horse because of what the pros said, what Stephen Parris said. So the first 2 games, really, interesting, good sides that we played against.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
the only reason Joe Martin isn't a test player is he's too nice on Twitter. That's the only reason.
Yeah. It's a good point, that, Gary, and we maybe should come on to that. We've had a little bit of banter on the Housecast group, but looking at, obviously, because of what's gone on at some international cricket over the last few days, historical tweets. Needless to say, none of us need to delete all our historical tweets, and our technical guru managed to find some old tweets from Joe Beneduce and Matt Stanny, and I've no doubt from me and Gary, but me and Gary are squeaky clean, and the only thing we could find for Joe Martin was dressed as a fireman with a little hose in his hand, a little hose pipe for ladder.
That's not a euphemism.
No, it wasn't. But no, it was. It was.
Do you know
funny
that night that I still have that fireman's outfit?
I don't.
What a surprise! Yeah, what a surprise!
And I bet it still fits, and I bet you still put it on every now and again.
You say it still fits. How old would I have been? I was in my 20s.
I know. Talking about pictures for our audience doesn't really work, does it? So we'll perhaps put one of those. Put one of those pictures out from the Housecast account.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we'll say we go towards the end, but our MD didn't come out smelling a rose for a historical text. He was
the Piers Morgan of
criticising everyone, anything he could do.
I think he's had to get legal representation on back of that. Yesterday, were telling me.
Yeah, that's why I'm not really mentioned about his slagging off of the NHS or Jeremy Corbyn or any of the other.
Or basically anybody.
Anyone is fair game for MD.
Yeah, anyone. So, Joe Martin, Lowerhouse versus Darwin.
Yeah.
It looks like I didn't go on that game. Looks like we beat him easy. Quick summary of what went on then.
Yeah, we bowled and fielded really well. Quite tight. They didn't really try and accelerate or anything like that. And we just bowled really well. What we did really well that we didn't do in the first two games was set it up for Stephen Parrott and Paddy to bowl.
Right.
So previously we tried to get Parry on early to try and search for a wicket, and in this game what we did really well was bowl tight first up, and then Parry could come on and Paddy could come on and Toxie could bowl. I don't know if Toxie bowled. I think he bowled.
Toxie did. Paddy didn't.
All right. Well, we'll edit that bit. But anyway, it just meant that it was really hard to score off, really difficult to score off, and then we knocked them off comfortably. I'd say we batted well.
And Darwin, decent side. Darwin have got some.
Darwin
good
a good side. Good side.
Yeah.
We've got some very good players.
Comfortably, and Johnny Whitehead's obviously gone out there and smashed it, and Paddy's come in and sent that home with 30 odd overs to spare.
Yeah, Johnny was imperious.
Yeah, imperious.
Beautifully batting.
How was the feeling in the camp then after that? So we've got our first win under our belt. Ramsbottom game away, it's rained off. Are we upbeat? Are things going well?
Yeah, definitely. I think the majority of the players were. I, as a pessimist, was having sleepless nights, wondering whether we were going to get relegated. But after that win, you sort of get a bit of confidence in you, and that was nice. That was pleasant.
Next game, Walsden at home. That's another no result, but Pro's got his first 50.
Yeah, batted well. Batted very, very well.
Batting good in circumstances.
Yeah, that was rained off. We would have had a good chance. We would have had a good chance because we would have been able to bowl to good fields, bowl tightly. And they have again, Walsden have some great players who can very destructive. But if you bowl tight at them, they can make mistakes.
Yeah, of course they can.
And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to do that. But
I spoke to Ben and Francois after that game, and Ben was confident. Frankie was bullish. He said that we had 50 too many.
Right.
Yeah. I think
he bowled one over, didn't he, Francois, in the second innings, and he said he bowled a leg cutter that went miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think of maybe 2011, 2012 sort of seasons when Francois used to bowl on wet wickets and no one could get him away, it was very similar to that. And the first ball, or like a leg cutter that he bowled, probably not his first ball, but one of them just sort of spat and went, and we thought, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because the wickets weren't great. The weather had changed a little bit there.
Yeah, it was poor.
Then The next game, Burnley at Burnley. Joe, talk us through that. That was memorable. Rain-affected game, but a great win. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, rain-affected game. It was a late start, probably about 2:00, so a 42 over game, I think. And we lost the toss, and they put us in, I think, from memory. And looking at the wicket, it wasn't a great wicket. It was soft, a bit like a rice pudding, I think. And because it was quite hard on top, but then it was still soft. So it was so it had a skin on it and some jam and some jam. Yeah. But Ben and Johnny batted extremely well in that game. They sort of built a platform. It was getting progressively difficult to score off. So we started really well, sort of nullified their bowlers, and then tried to accelerate a little bit. And I think we got to 140. I think
143.
Like 143, and Blaise hit a massive six. Like it was Blaise's birthday, and he genuinely hit a massive six. It was enormous. It was still as it hit the changing rooms, it was still rising, and it would have gone very far.
Who was a bowler?
I think it was Ferg. It went really far. It went very far. But we got 140, and you think 140 you're not going to do. And I think some of the spectators actually were saying it's not enough. But Ben said to Johnny when we sort of halfway through the inning, if we get 100 here, we're in the game. He was sort of confident on that because the wicket wasn't great. And again, Finchy came back into the side and bowled very well, got an early wicket. And then from there, Parry just bowled fantastically well. Absolutely brilliant. Bowled from the top end and was brilliant. Couldn't play.
Figures are great
Yeah.
that day.
Oh, did he bowl something like 5 maidens or 7 maidens?
Three for 14 off 12.
Yeah.
It was absolutely brilliant. Unplayable in some cases. But not because he was spinning he would spin the ball a lot in some instances, but his variation of pace on that really sticky wicket, and Paddy bowled well as well. And Toxie, if Toxie could have a wicket that was made for him, it was that. It would roll it up and take it in a van with him anywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And Toxie bowled very, very well. Bowled very, very well. Absolutely brilliant.
Key wickets there, didn't it?
Yeah, he did. Because Burnley are a great side. They've got some good players, but we didn't let them get away from us at any point. We stayed on top of them, and I think Barrett batted reasonably well towards the end. But once we'd taken that wicket, we were looking good, and we played very well that day. We fielded well, some good catches, and everything just sort of clicked into place, and it was a really good result. Really good.
I mean, all the reports and speaking to the players, it were really enjoyable, and that could be the turning point, or where we believe in ourselves. What was it like playing against the ex-pro who played for us, and then obviously you've got Fergus playing for them, and Barrett used to play for us. Yeah. What was that like as a team playing against those ex-players?
Well, we've played against. I guess Barrett is a sort of distant memory in the Lowerhouse history. Because he played so long ago. It's 15 years ago.
No. Leave it at that, Joe. Leave it at that.
I'm going to have to leave that in. Or I have to edit it out. But Barrett's a great player. We played against Ferg Frenfield, so him playing for another team isn't that odd. It was a little bit odd playing against Hockey, I think. I think, but to be honest with you, I think it was worse for him than it is for us. Right. We once played a game. Matt Walker once sub-pro'd for East Lancs, and I don't think he enjoyed it at all, because he turned to me and went, "This is weird, isn't it?" Because usually he'd be bowling. So I don't think. I think people get an affinity to Lowerhouse that maybe they don't get with other clubs. I don't know. That might not be true, but I don't think they enjoyed it particularly well.
No, it is. It's 100% true, Joe. That that's what happens. People leave for different reasons, or aren't allowed back for various reasons. But we crack on regardless. But that was a great win. I think that kick-started us back into
it was a proper win, Jez. It was where everything sort of just fell into place, where we batted pretty well, and it was good. It was very good to play him.
Yeah, fantastic. So then I think the Friday night, so we're up to this weekend just gone. Friday,
right, okay.
Rishton at home. It's fair to say you completely battered them.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know whether they were a little bit nervous or whether they were really confident. I don't know. It was a bit strange. The atmosphere was a bit odd. They're a great team. They're a nice, great set of lads. But it was I don't know. It was just a bit odd. I don't know how to explain it. But we didn't have some of our regular players playing. I think it's fair to say. Francois didn't play. Blaise didn't play. People like that. And so we had two youngsters in Tom and Henry.
And Simi also played.
And Simi played and fielded very, very well, can I say. Again, we battered really well. Battered very well. The DJ was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good. Highlight of the evening was the DJ.
What's his DJ name, Joe?
I couldn't possibly comment on that, but I don't know. I can't think of anything funny to say.
I've heard Italian Stallion.
I don't think so. It might be. I mean, he is a bit. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, why not? DJ Italian Stallion. Oh,
yeah,
I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of an animal, an Italian animal.
Chicken?
I don't know, like Dr. Fox, but an Italian equivalent.
There's a famous DJ called David Guetta, and Stanny's christened me Fat Guetta.
Right, Fat Guetta, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so we played very well, and it was great to see the youngsters doing well. Henry and Tom. I think Hennes is 16 or just turned 16, and Tom is 15. And Tom bowled really well, bowled really tight, especially with a really short boundary at the top. He bowled really well. They couldn't get him away. And then Henry came on and bowled really, really beautifully. It was really nice to see. Turned the ball. Bowled with a great pace, and I think that set him up for the weekend actually when he went back into the second team because he played 4 games that weekend. Played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Good lad.
And was great. And the thing about them is, sorry, Gaz.
Good to see Dean Barlow getting some runs as well because he'd had a bit of a sticky start, hasn't he?
Gaz, he absolutely nailed it. Jesus, smashed it. There were some really good hacks.
Yeah.
They were proper. He was just walloping it. I don't know how many sixes he hit. 5?
Yeah, 5.
5. Yeah, 5 sixes. He batted very well.
No, you're right there, Gary.
Cleanly.
He is a great player, and just that opportunity and getting in there at the right time in the 50 over format. I genuinely believe that he can do a job for us. So
and he's a great lad as well.
Yeah,
he's a great team.
Yeah.
He'll do anything. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
No, that's good. And also, as we said early on in this conversation, the young players will get so much out of that, not just the wickets, but the experience for when, and if, whether it's this year or next year or whenever it is, that they have to come in and bat in or bowl in that important period. How, just as a spectator trying to peep into the dressing room, I know one of our earlier podcasts, Johnny Russell, said that spectators shouldn't be anywhere near the dressing room and knowing what's spoken about. How do the young lads, how do they cope with the dressing room now? Because I remember the likes of Dukes coming in there the first time. How are they received? How are they looked after, and how do they behave?
Well, the behaviour is no problem, Jess.
Right.
And I think they receive everything well. They get a bit of a learning experience from Johnny because anything can happen there. But I don't spend a lot of time in the dressing rooms due to COVID. I use this office as my dressing room. I have my own dressing room.
Oh, Joe. Why do we have you on here?
Well, for kind of insight like this, Jez.
Yeah.
Jez, I'd guess on your point about changing rooms, I'd guess it's a much different place than it was.
Really?
It might be. I don't know what the word is, but I think it might be a nurturing environment.
Yeah. Is there any fighting that goes on?
No.
What? Not even a punch in the face now and again?
No, absolutely not. Well, actually, I tell a lie there. When I wicket keep, Johnny punches me.
Right.
He punches my cricket helmet.
Right.
Be careful, man. He punches and just keeps punching me and finds it very amusing.
Right, no, we didn't used to do that. So, but anyway, they're great lads, and they're going to progress. I have no doubt, into quality first team. So it's so good to see that. So then we move on the Saturday. We play Great Hardboard away.
Yeah, Great Harwood. Again, we played pretty well. We played really well, actually. We bowled well. Pazza bowled well first up.
Yeah.
Francois bowled well. Toxie bowled well. Everybody bowled well. They had a bit of a partnership in the middle when we would probably expect to bowl them out for about 100. They got to 130. They had a partnership of maybe 50 or 60. And then we came in and battered. Francois and Pazza battered really well again. And then a flurry of LBW decisions that came out of nowhere that, I mean, they were bizarre. After not giving any in the first inning, these were bizarre, to say the least. But, they're entitled to give them, I think, even if they're not right.
They're entitled to give them even if they're not right.
Yeah, it's their call, isn't it? At the end of the day. If they think it's out. If they think it's out, it's out. But I might disagree.
You're too nice, Joe. You're too nice.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But we got over the line.
But do we not have to be very careful on these podcasts? Because I have seen, I've been told quite a few umpires listen to it, and we don't want to. It's a difficult job that they do.
It is, absolutely.
But I do sometimes, you have to be careful as to, because the following day we got 2 or 3, and
yeah, I mean, it's not a criticism, Jez. Can I add? It's just it's not, genuinely not. It's just that it's just the kind of state of the game. It was really odd. Right. I was one of them. I might have been out. I don't know, but
got to think of which side your bread's buttered, Jez, haven't you?
Exactly, you've got to, yeah. It's,
I think all umpires are great. So
no loafing around.
We'll edit that last bit. So when you've just asked me, Jez, how did you go? My response will be all umpires are great.
Umpires are great.
But we got over the line, Jez, nonetheless.
Yeah. Look, it was. I think it's worth just having a little discussion about some video footage from that game. I'm sure Dooch has seen it. Gary, have you seen that footage with Finchie?
No, I haven't. I've been trying to keep up with some of the streaming, but I haven't seen this one you're talking about now.
Well, it's bizarre. Adam sent it, mate. I didn't go over to Great Hardboard, but you could see, Adam said, you can see it streaming online. And it was probably, the angle was from long on, if you will, quite high up, but it was really good footage. You could work out, where they'd hit the ball and, and if they got 4, whereas sometimes you don't even know if they've hit it. Their pro has come into bat. In fact, Martin, you explain what happened.
Yeah, so we'd just taken a wicket and their pro had come into bat, hadn't faced the ball. And I was just about to demonstrate it, but obviously that's no use, is it? So their batters hit it back at Finchie. He admitted he probably should have caught it, but as he's turned, it's deflected off his hands onto the stumps and run their pro out for a diamond duck. And it was excellent. It was really excellent. A really excellent piece of work. I've given Finchie a lot of stick over the past few podcasts, so it was excellent.
But what makes it funny when it happens, it is it's almost like someone's thrown a rocket at him that's going to explode in his hands. He throws his hands up in air, thinking, oh shit, what's happening? The ball lands on the stump and then it runs off.
Yeah, proper celebration, like a proper
Is it worthy of Cricket AM?
Without a doubt. Yeah. It is funny.
It's great.
It is funny.
Really good.
And it was interesting because Finchie's tweeted about us picking on him. I can't find the tweet where he said, I'm really enjoying this podcast or something. So we're not slagging you off, Finchie. You ran their pro out and you hadn't even faced the ball. So that's an achievement. But ironically, chaps, I go through Finchie's Twitter feed and right at the top is Matthew Stansfield. That is absolute, complete and utter bollocks, Ian Wright. They say Paul has to pass it. He never gives the ball. He'd never give that ball to Talks on me. So when Stone drops a clanger, he shouldn't have passed it all the time. It's utter horseshit.
Why would Paul Stanley give it to himself? Why would Matt Stanley give it to himself?
I don't know. Finchy must have retweeted it. I just saw it on there.
Just before we go off the Great Harwood game.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ben Mee. Just before we go off the Great Harwood game, can you perhaps shed some light on why Charlie was down to bat at number 11?
Well, we got to about 100, I think. Yeah, something like that. And so we thought, so they sent me in.
Ben Mee?
So I kind of, yeah. They sent me in. I got about 7. And then they sent Dean in. And then they sent Paddy. And then they sent Paddy in. Because we just thought, well, we'd get over the line. And then we sent Toxie and Finchy in. I don't know why. I've got no idea why Blaise and Charlie were batting.
That's a 9, 10, and 11, and I bet there's a struggle to have more Lancashire League runs ever in any side batting at 9, 10, 11.
I think if I was to estimate the number of runs they'd have, I reckon Charlie's got 6,000, so that's 22,000, 23,000 plus. So you're nearly pushing kind of 30,000 runs batting 9, 10, and 11.
The reason I asked that question is I heard that they'd had a shower and they didn't want to get the gear back on.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but Finchy had a shower and then had to go and bat.
Let us know how that goes on in selection next time, Joe, will you?
Yeah, drop him, get him out.
Never in nowadays, Jez.
It wouldn't have happened, you never let us shower unless there were gas in it. So then, Sunday, Rochdale at home, Joe. Tell us about that game. That looks...
it was...
fantastic. Johnny Whitehead.
It was fantastic. All the fans were back at the club.
Yeah.
After the lockdown break. And when people couldn't come. And Johnny Whitehead battered incredibly. It was one of the best innings I've seen. And one of the things is that to score runs, and I'm speaking from no position of authority, but I think to score runs, you sometimes have to take risks. And the thing about that innings is Johnny took calculated risks that he was able to deliver on. And it was absolutely fantastic to see. It was brilliant to watch. And and Pazza batted well as well with him. Brilliant again. Fantastic. But it was amazing to see Johnny get 100. Really good.
Am I right?
My oldest friends, Jez, and it was brilliant.
Am I right in thinking that quite a slow start and then started to push it and then hitting 4s and 6s, or was it in spurt?
No, I think it was measured. It was a really measured innings where I think he just played the ball on its merit. So when it was a bad ball, he dispatched it. When it was a good ball, he pushed it for a single. But it just worked. He just worked the ball so well. He didn't, and he hit massive to get to about 90, 98. I think he hit a massive 6, like a pull shot, and it was enormous. Yeah. But it was just a measured innings. It wasn't a really sort of fast acceleration. It wasn't anything. It was just a beautifully played inning.
Wow, that's brilliant. So 210, was it always too many for them?
I think so.
Yeah,
it wasn't. Okay. It was never going to get easier to bat on. I don't think it was going to get slower, especially with Paddy and Pazza coming on. And they got off to a pretty good start, but not a fast start needed. Yeah. To be honest with you, to be up with the rate and then to be able to carry on when the wicket sort of deteriorated as it got further on.
And then Pro Whitehead, is he a good player? I mean, he's obviously he bowled.
Yeah, seen it. Yeah, he bowled very well. Very good bowler. And we've got to mention it was Finch's 400th Lowerhouse wicket. It was a great achievement, and I'm extremely pleased that happened because he's one of our greatest all-rounders, if not. Yeah. I mean, you could argue that he's probably, as an amateur, he's probably the best potentially.
Well, I you've got Joe Beneduce could hit a mean 6 over extra cover and bowl.
I know.
You mean facetious, Jez? Move on.
Finch's bowled well.
Finchy bowled beautifully well. Bowled fantastic.
Very well there. Obviously, Steve Parry's 15 overs for 42 with 3 wickets. How come Francois only bowled 5 overs?
It was just the wicket, Jez. It was just the wicket. It was where we didn't. Pace on the ball wouldn't help. Yeah. It would help them more than us. Yeah. And Toxie bowled pretty well as well when he came back. And also, I must mention the way. So I don't know if you could follow the game, Gav, but they were 9 down going into the last over.
3 balls left.
Yeah, 3 balls left. Toxie was bowling. Blaise was in the slips. He hasn't fielded there for a long time.
Blaise was in the slips?
He was at second slip.
How many slips did you have? 12?
We had 3 slips and a gully. So he pats the first 2 back, and then he prods at the last one of the third ball, and Blaise takes a low catch, so low, diving left-handed catch, probably, 6 inches off the floor.
Just do that again. Just show us. Just dive again.
It was probably
you knob.
It was probably about 6 inches off the ground, and just when you thought he couldn't be any more of a legend, he goes and does something like that. But it was brilliant. It was like everything was back to normal. It was brilliant. It was so good.
Those are your bonus points.
Yeah, we'll come back
exactly.
to that.
Gaz, that was the great point that I was going to make. Moments like that allow you to do well in competitions.
Yeah, it can just maybe clinch something.
Yeah, no? Absolutely.
Right, and your brothers obviously bowled very well. You're behind.
Bowled really well.
11 overs we've got 4 wickets for 40. That's coming out all right for him.
Yeah, he has said that he bowled. You might say that he was going, 40 runs. He sort of give and take, but he was bowling really attacking, trying to get wickets, and that's when he bowls at his best. And again he bowled really well. He bowled so well. And again, it's hard to bowl these teams out. It's really tough. It's really tough. It's no mean feat to get these teams out.
Is it a bit contentious to ask what he was feeling with signing Stephen Parry for 2 years?
No, I don't think so. I think that one of the things that a lot of the good teams do now is the bowl spinners in tandem, and having and who better to learn from than an England international who's played all over the world. Yeah. You don't get those kind of experiences all that often, I don't think. So everyone's really pleased. I can't speak highly enough of the pro. He's such a great guy and a great player.
I think that's another reason why that we need to get him on in the next couple of weeks. And so what Gary said then is a great point. To come into a club, what does he think of us now? What does he think of the players? I mean, he's not going to come in and say he's shit and he's a dick, but
I do.
Yeah, he could do. Yeah, could do, I suppose.
He's played a few games with Finchy now, so.
Yeah, no, Finch is he's one of our best ever players, is Finch.
Honestly, he bowled at the weekend and it was superb. It was brilliant. It was so good. It's just so skillful.
Like on a piece of string, Joe, that's what they say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So before we move on to, the next few games and what's going to happen from there, just mention at the moment, a massive thank you to all the spectators and all the people who've supported the club in this difficult, there were a 4 or 5 week period where people could only stop outside and we had record bar sales, and as a result of those bar sales, the club has managed to get finished. The refurbishments have been finished, and I was down there today, and there's a new decking now being created to the right-hand side of the clubhouse as you come out the steps. It's all been flagged. I think George Durkin's there, Sean Durkin's son and George's dad there doing all the flagging. That looks fantastic. Money's been spent from the community that have supported us over the last few weeks and months. So thanks very much for that. Let's keep it going. The club's open now. Then hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, if Boris keeps to his words, and if he doesn't, then I'm sure it'll only be a week or 2 afterwards to keep supporting the club. And don't forget the Euros are on down there. There's a system in place for booking your tables and your seats to come down and watch. So please do that.
I think about the sponsors, Jez, as well, those who stuck with the club, and because it'd have been the easiest thing in the world just to sort of walk away for a little bit, but especially with how much they could have got out of it with few spectators and games not being played and things. So I mean, we've got 4 great sponsors on the Housecast, and the rest of the club sponsors deserve a mention as well.
Yeah, here, Gary. Yeah, no one's walked away from it. They're still, helping us out financially and with, with the work that's done on the club. It really just shows, in times of difficulty and adversities. I feel a little bit like we're in World War II and we're just coming out of it and we start waving those Union Jacks. It's
what was it like that time, Jez?
I don't know. I'll ask Les.
Just going back to what you were saying about booking table.
Yeah.
I talked to Gav today. He's booked a table for every single group game, knockout stages, semi-final, final, the Ryder Cup, the Olympics, and the Cricket World Cup.
Good lad. What, a table for one, or can we join him?
Him and all his mates, table for one.
Brilliant. Good lad, Gav. It is. It'll be good fun, and there hasn't been an ounce of trouble. The bar staff are doing a sterling job, and we're coming out the other side. So let's look forward. Let's look at what's happening over the next weekend. I think I'm right in saying the two Joes. It's Clitheroe away Friday in a T20. Clitheroe at home Sunday. Sorry, Clitheroe away Sunday in the league. What's your thoughts around that, Joe Martin? Are you confident? Is the team up for it?
Yeah, I think so.
What was that for?
We have a couple of players missing. I guess Johnny Whitehead's not playing and Finchy's not playing because he's in the England bubble. So it's going to be a tough game. Clitheroe are a great side. They've got some very good players, but we're also a good side. I mean, you look at our team and you forget how good some of the players are. You really do. Some people haven't had it. Toxie, for example, has had a 600-run season in the Lancashire League, and that's next to me at number 10 and number 11. Yeah. So the quality in the team is outstanding, and someone. Johnny got 100 last week. Can be somebody else's day to get 100 this weekend.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think the weather's okay as well. So, fingers crossed that things go our way and we keep this run going. Is there anything else from anyone who's on? Joe Dooch, anything?
I was just going to mention there about players missing games for different reasons. I don't know if you remember when you two were involved in picking teams. Did you ever have anyone miss for being in the England women's bubble? No?
I think before I answer that one.
Jerry, I'm doing the same. I remember someone missing for making a bubble.
I must just mention young Tommy Olstead as well. He missed a game. Tom plays in the seconds. He missed a game this year because he sprained his ankle getting out of a hot tub. That's another new one that appeared this year. And Tom's also got a very good story about a holiday he went on a few years ago, but I'm not going to tell that. I'll wait for it. I'll wait for him to come on there before he tells that story.
Sounds an interesting character, dude. Can we invite him on? How old is he?
What, mentally? I think he's 18 and 19, Tom.
I'll get him on, man.
He's a character. He's a character. Yeah. If he'll come on, we can only get him on if he'll tell us that story about his holiday a few years ago. It's a belter.
All right. We'll get him on. But it'd be good to catch up. Gary, we're missing you like mad. Any moves? Are you heading up north in the next 6 or 12 months? Or
yeah. Before then, Jez, we'll just wait and see what happens on June 21st.
Right.
But we're all double jabbed now in this house, so we're all great. So we're on the move. We've got some dates planned. We've got some people coming down here first, but we'll be coming up there, and I'll be making sure that make it known and make sure we get down the West End.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. We're going to have a good old catch up, especially now. I feel we've got an extra bubble ourselves with the house cast. And I mean, I'm not up for any trips away or anything, but Joe Martin, we're talking today about organising a Chester's Racers trip for the house cast presenters. So
excellent. You say about the housecast bubble as well, Jez. I've been watching Joe, and this won't come across for the listener, but he sanitised his hands 23 times in the hour we've been talking. Seriously, he hasn't moved out to that chair, so I don't know what's coming through your Zoom screen, right?
Yeah, and the daft thing is, Gary, he sat in the West End room in club, and he's been there all. I walked in there at about 8:20 this morning, and he was in exactly the same suit. Well, no, exactly the same seat, but he had a tuxedo on.
Well, I know he don't drink, but he's absorbed that much alcohol through his fingertips. He won't be able to drive home.
You'll have to sleep there, Joe.
I'm not averse to that.
So, anything else from anyone? No, we're all done. Brilliant. That. Let's see how that comes across to all our listeners. We've got up to, I think, Adam's last tweet that went out. We've had something like 29,000 listens to the podcast in about 14 or 15 different countries, some bizarre countries that you won't believe. But we really appreciate everyone listening. Hope it makes it some fun. And I will try to carry on and get some guests on now we're out of lockdown. Thanks very much for listening to the Housecast. Make sure you subscribe, you like it, and tell your mates, and support the sponsors.
Order! Send Moorhouse to save the house!